Welcome into Good Morning KU. I'm Jackson Long alongside Farzine Vasugian. It's been a snowy week, a couple snow days last week and also a little bit of snow last night, but we're here to talk sports this morning on this Monday morning. KU this weekend with a 83-69 victory over the Mountaineers from West Virginia. Andrew Wiggins led all scorers with 19 points, but it was the front court for the Jayhawks that led the charge.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at Joel Embiid. Statistically, he didn't have an off day. He still had a double-double, but the guys up front, Jamari Traylor and Tarek Black coming off the bench, combined for 18 points. Absolutely big day. And Tarek Black with the best game since conference play has gotten underway. His best game since the Georgetown game on December 21st. Just a tremendous job by Tarek Black going in there, making a big impact for KU, and that's what helped KU get that win, that front court right there. And West Virginia got into foul trouble really early in the game. That made Bob Huggins go to the bench very early and even deepen his bench when other players got into foul trouble, and that just gave KU all the momentum in the postgame, and that's what allowed KU to get things going. Andrew Wiggins, Wayne Selden, a tremendous job from those two guys as well, and all of that just spelled a great day for KU.
You're right. Jamari Traylor and Tarek Black off the bench, huge minutes, and actually combined for 6 for 6 shooting from the field. Embiid and Perry Ellis were in foul trouble early, but it was definitely the front court that kind of saved the day for the Jayhawks. Wiggins with a quiet 19 points, all the hype that comes with him. There you see the stats, 19 points, 4 rebounds. Selden had 17 points, but we mentioned the front court was big. West Virginia, 2 Big 12 Player of the Year candidates, really.
Yes.
And Staten and Harris, 22 points, 4 assists, 17 points, 6 rebounds for Harris.
Yeah, and the thing about Staten and Harris is those two both had great games, but it seemed like they were going off at different times. They were not playing well together. That was the biggest problem with West Virginia, and those were the only 2 players contributing that afternoon. Had other players stepped up for the Mountaineers, I think they could have gave KU a run for their money for all 40 minutes, but those 2 guys being the only impact players, West Virginia was really one-dimensional in that game.
Andrew Wiggins did a nice job guarding players on the wing. Once again, though, the Jayhawks did win 83-69 over the West Virginians, who have been a little bit of a surprise thus far in the Big 12. Let's see what the coaches had to say afterwards, after the game.
We just didn't make any. We didn't make any open shots, and then the rebound at the foul line hurt us. It was. They go 1 for 2 from the foul line, and then offensive rebounded at the foul line and score. Those things. Those are things that really hurt you.
I think Tarek is playing in the exact way that we envisioned him playing when we first got him. I mean, maybe a little better even. I mean, he's doing a lot of good things. He's very vocal. He coaches through his voice a lot of times, especially defensively, and he's getting more confidence offensively, and he's playing within himself. He's doing a nice job.
So there you see a couple different demeanors from the head coaches. Bob Huggins for West Virginia, pretty down in the dumps, I guess, and you saw with his hand covering his face. Didn't really know what to do, what to say. Kind of a dismal loss and perplexing, I guess, to say.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, the fouls were a problem because they had to go deep in their bench with their post players, and he admitted after the game they just don't have anyone to throw it to down low, whereas KU was fortunate to have Joel Embiid, Tarek Black, Jamari Traylor. The list goes on and on. I mean, there are an unlimited number of players where not many college basketball teams have that fortunate gift right there.
Bill Self definitely lucky and obviously a little bit more happy in the press conference as well. So let's preview K-State a little bit. The Jayhawks travel to Manhattan tonight for the second half of the Sunflower Showdown. A big matchup because Kansas State coming off a huge win against Texas this weekend.
Yes.
And still in striking distance in the Big 12. So let's talk about this K-State team as well as matching up with KU.
K-State has been a little inconsistent this year. They started off with a really tough loss against the University of Northern Colorado, but then they've gotten things underway, beating some ranked teams in the Big 12. Had a nice one earlier this year against Oklahoma, but struggled a little bit against Iowa State. KU's always been the team that's been in the way. You've got to remember, this is a team that shared the Big 12 regular season title with KU, fell in the championship game to KU. So it seems like for K-State, it's just KU's always been in the way, and they've been the younger brother of the Big 12. So for K-State, what they need to do is work to their strengths, come out aggressive, and challenge KU. And look, the last 3 games at Bramlage Coliseum 3 years ago, KU did lose to K-State. They were the #1 seed. That was on Valentine's Day on 2011. And then the following 2 games, KU's won, but in narrow margins too. It's always a competitive game at Bramlage Coliseum. Despite KU dominating 47 of the last 50 meetings, every time they're in Manhattan, KU always has a hard time going in there. They usually find a way to pick up a win, but K-State can challenge this team in Manhattan.
That's kind of the beauty of the rivalry game. So you see Kansas State versus KU tonight, 8 o'clock on ESPN. Be sure to check it out. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be meeting with Kevin Willmott, the director of the new Jayhawkers film highlighting Fog Allen, Wilt Chamberlain, and the social climate of the 1950s. Stay with us.
Good morning. I'm Haley, and this is your Good Morning KU News Update. Officers are still investigating a stabbing that occurred in Lawrence early Sunday morning. One adult male died of traumatic injuries occurring at the Northwinds Apartments in the 1100 block of George Court. His identity has not been released. An official at a Central Ohio college says a student who was the subject of intensive search over the weekend apparently died of hypothermia after falling asleep outside. Denison University student David Hallman III was last seen leaving a downtown Granville restaurant early Saturday. Police said alcohol may be a factor. The Lawrence area saw a few more inches of snow yesterday, but a warming trend is on the horizon. Temperatures are only expected to reach the upper teens today, but we should reach 50 degrees by Thursday. Saturday's forecast is for a high of 56. That's it for today's news update. We'll take a quick break and be right back with Jackson and Farzine.
Welcome back to Good Morning KU. I'm Jackson Long, Farzine Vasugan. We're going to talk sports, but quick, here's a look at the times that Jayhawkers will be playing at the Lead Center that you see this weekend, Friday through Sunday, and there are about nine times for the movie to air, but be sure to check that out at the Lead Center this weekend, February 14th through the 16th. Now let's transition a little bit into non-KU stuff,
Yes.
but one of the most eventful weekends in sports we've had in a long time. It's stuff that's not exactly, I guess, the box score,
Yeah.
but stuff that kind of happens outside the lines. So Farzine, we'll let you get started with that.
Yeah, and of course KU, as you mentioned, making a lot of noise in the Big 12, but somebody else got a lot of attention, not just in the Big 12, but nationally. Here's a video right here. We have it for you from ESPN. Marcus Smart, Oklahoma State guard, was in the center of attention Saturday night when he pushed a Texas Tech fan. Officials immediately assessed a technical foul, but did not eject Smart from the game. As you can see, only 6.2 seconds left right there. He ended up finishing the final few seconds of the game. However, Smart has been suspended for 3 games because of the incident. Coincidentally, the Cowboys play the Red Raiders, and Smart's first game back on February 22nd. Now, a lot's been made out of this, and I've been reading reports about this. A former Oklahoma State player spoke out about this, and he actually recognized that fan right there, because I guess this fan attends every single Texas Tech game. So obviously
He's been noted as one of the #1 fans of Texas Tech
yeah.
basketball, correct?
Yeah, I mean, he's a notable guy. I mean, there are fans who recognize some of their or players who recognize some of their fans, especially those who sit front row, and he's one of those guys. Opposing players have recognized them, and former players have said that this is a guy who has said a few things in the past. There was a report that he spoke out and said he might have said something that he probably shouldn't have said. Now, reports were, was it a racial slur? You know, what was the comment? Apparently, this guy was just knocking on him and just basically said that, you know, he's not a good player.
And I think that's the biggest part in the story is that we don't know exactly what was said, because Marcus Smart certainly reacted as if something major was said, and if it was only because the initial report was that Jeff Orr, this fan for Texas Tech, said that he called him a piece of crap. That's a quote, and so that was I guess the quoted part that people know what was said, but we don't know what else was said because it was a very strong reaction to Marcus Smart. From Marcus Smart, deservingly with a technical because of players going to the fans. It's interesting to see kind of this relationship of who's at fault here. Is it this 60-year-old booster from Texas Tech, or is it this 20-year-old kid who doesn't know, I guess, right from wrong yet? I mean, I'm 21, but I can't tell you exactly what I'm doing yet. So what are your thoughts on kind of who's at fault, or is this okay? Does it depend on what?
You know, a lot of people think that if they buy a ticket, they exercise the right to use the First Amendment all the way. You know, the thing about that is you've got to be careful with that. Yes, you can go to a game, you can cheer, you can boo your own players if they're not having a good performance. A lot of fans do that. That's perfectly okay. There are times, especially in basketball, this is very common. If a player runs into you, I think the best thing to do, obviously, is just help them out if they're on the ground, right on top of you, and just leave them alone. Obviously, there were some things said back and forth, and that made Smart react. And I think a lot of people, that's definitely a move Marcus Smart wants to take back. I mean, if he looks at that today, I'm sure he's seen the footage many times, even though he doesn't want to. He wants to get that moment back, because in the moment something was said, he was heated up, and we've all been in those situations before. But with Marcus Smart, a guy who's got tremendous NBA talent, this is a guy whose draft stock could go down just because of a move like that. I mean, you think about problems that happens off the court. I mean, something like that happens that's not game related, that can really hurt your draft stock. And for Marcus Smart, he's got to learn to rebound, and play really well from here on out, so that way he can save his own draft stock when general managers check him out.
So a very interesting situation. I'm sure we'll find out more in the coming days. We talked about draft stock, another similar situation, I guess with a different twist, another societal issue. Michael Sam, the co-defensive player of the year in the SEC, one of the top players, defensive players in the nation from Missouri, came out last night to the New York Times and ESPN that he was a gay athlete. So an interesting situation there, and it made national news and probably the biggest story of the weekend. So logistically, what are the reactions like from the NFL, from the people that would matter to Michael Sam? The story was kept quiet by his team. He told his team in August, and the report didn't come out until now. So kudos to Missouri for really protecting one of their own
absolutely.
and letting Michael Sam tell the story on his own accord. But let's talk about some of the reactions from different sources around the league.
Well, looking at social media, I was surprised in a good way just to see how positive the reaction was. A lot of people are supporting him, whether or not they believe in those kinds of things, what their opinions are. A lot of people are supporting him. It's his choice, it's his option. And I think the biggest fear, the reason why this is news is because there's never been an openly gay athlete in the NFL. Last year, Jason Collins, he admitted he was gay, but this is a guy who doesn't get a whole lot of playing time. He's not a player that not a lot of people recognize. And football, basketball is a masculine sport too, but football is that hard-hitting, violent sport that a lot of boys love to play.
It is a macho man sport.
Yes,
certainly.
absolutely. So people are wondering, what's the reaction going to be like from the locker room? But just judging from all these positive responses, I think it's going to be fine. The other part of it is, are general managers going to think the same way? Are people not going to draft him just because of this? I mean, there are some off-the-field issues where draft stocks fall, like Marcus Smart, but this is not something that affects his gameplay, not at all. So I think this is a guy who still should be drafted in the 3rd to 5th round, which is where he's projected. But overall, the response has been very positive. I think locker rooms are going to take this fine. Fans are going to be okay with it. If he gets drafted to the Chiefs or the Rams, I think that'd be great for him because he's got a long contingency of Missouri Tiger fans in the area. So that would be very great for him. But I think anywhere he goes, he'll have a strong fan base and a lot of support.
So one of the biggest news of the weekend, of course, Marcus Smart with his conflict with a Texas Tech fan, and then Michael Sam coming out of the closet and telling the world that he is going to be the first gay athlete in the NFL, a high-profile player.
Yes.
And an excellent move, and definitely applaud his courage and bravery in doing so. That's it for Good Morning KU this week. I'm Jackson Long.
I'm Farzin Vasugan, and we will see you next Monday, same time, same place, right here at the Media Crossroads. Thanks for watching us.
Take care.